Hi, this is Daniela Wolf with Bestie Life, the podcast, and this is your community to support you through the little and not so little events that make up your day-to-day life. From the I've got this moments to the I just can't moments. We are here to empower all women to find and develop the skills they need to find peace, balance, and the bliss in their busy. Through solo episodes as well as interviews with amazing women who share their journey and their story and how it works for you. I hope you find the inspirations to make you laugh, think, as well as maybe rethink what you thought you knew, and connect as we realize that we are all living similar ups and downs and don't have to do it alone. So excited for you to hear this episode, and thanks so much for joining me today. Hi, this is Daniela with Bestie Life, the podcast, and today I'm excited for you to meet Nancy Griffin. She helps women with their worth and wellness. Her main purpose is to connect and influence women find positive impact every chance that she can get. She helps them step up and lead in the world and following in the footsteps of so many other women leaders from the past. So thank you so much, Nancy, for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you, Daniela. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thanks. So can you tell us about your whole story and journey? Because I'm excited to dive into this because women and money, women and wealth is such a big topic.
It is, and it's getting stronger all the time. This brand is 31 years old,
Wow.
But it's becoming more important every day because women are really ramping up, and really my whole thrust is that they realize all the power that they have to make a difference and have positive impact in the world.
Yeah, and absolutely. You look at the roles that women and money has had over the years. I think it was 1974, a woman couldn't even get her own credit card without her husband signing off on it, right?
Imagine. I know. It's hard to believe that we've lived in that same era, that's a reality. It's unbelievable.
I know. I think of my mom back then. I was like, how are they okay with that?
Right. Well, you know what? They weren't okay with it, but they didn't have any choice and they didn't have any options. So that was their life. That was their reality.
Mm-hmm.
And they lived it with grace and purpose. And, they weren't completely unhappy, but at the same time, if we had to live then, we would be screaming down the laneway.
Yeah. I think though, even with the new connection relationship that we have with money over the last, several decades, it's still a trigger. I think it still carries a lot of baggage with it.
Well, I think the cornerstone to the whole challenge is that women just don't feel ready yet to really bust out and be leaders.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we see Melinda French Gates and we see Mackenzie Scott with the monies that they have that they're really, really going forward with in a very purposeful way. But they're pretty unique. And that all came about because of their separation and divorces and the settlements that they had. But for women to really bust out to that extent in a relationship is very, very difficult. Very difficult because we still defer to men and let them run the show, largely speaking.
Yeah. In what ways then do you help women with their money? Like, what does that look like? What kind of process do they go through with you?
Well, the biggest opportunity of all is stewarding philanthropy because women are inheriting wealth from their parents.
Mm-hmm.
They're already earning way more than they ever used to. So that in itself is an opportunity for stewarding wealth. But inheriting wealth is an even bigger opportunity. And we know that going forward, they will inherit that much more money from their partners, assuming that their partner is a male whose longevity is not as great as a female's. And so my whole thrust is to really encourage women to have an attitude of stepping up and stepping out. Like really, if you care about what in the world is going on, you have power right within your own bailiwick, right within your own sphere of influence. And that's why I'm trying to encourage women to have that attitude of just really go for it, do something. And you don't have to be public. You can be very anonymous about making a difference. But if you want to go public, that's even more important because then you become a role model to others.
Yeah, I think not only a role model, but I think it creates a community and a connection in ways you don't even realize when you're stepping forward in that way.
Exactly.
So, what are some of the kind of roadblocks that you see come up for a lot of women?
Well, women women like to be the best they can be. On the other hand, in terms of stepping out and stepping up and being the best they can be, they will face additional scrutiny.
Hmm.
And women just don't want to be scrutinized. Women don't want to step out and step up. And somebody say, who the heck does she think she is? Like, why is she doing that? Why doesn't
Right.
she just mind her own business? So it's always that ongoing challenge between, betwixt and between. What should I do and what shouldn't I do? And what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable? Um, I think there's an organization, I think it's a global organization for both men and women called 100 Women Who Care or 100 Men Who Care. And
Okay.
and you will make a small contribution, like $100 every quarter. So collectively, you come up with this pool of money that
Hmm.
you can do something with. So you're kind of safe in numbers. But
Yeah.
really, we see who's running the world these days. It's not women. It is not women.
Not yet.
And my goal is girls, you got all sorts of capabilities. You just have to have the courage to go for it.
Yeah, I've never heard of that organization, 100 Women Who Care, but I love the way you described it because it makes it sound so accessible. Because I think a lot of times when people think of philanthropy, it's, several $100 dinners, extravagant amounts of money, endowments, scholarships, those types of things. But the fact that, it can be $100 a quarter, which figures out to, I don't even want to try pretend to do the math on how small a day that could be. That's, probably cheaper than your Starbucks at least, right?
Correct.
It's
Correct.
around a Starbucks every day. To know that you're making an impact and a difference, is a huge not only form of giving, but a huge form of self-care as well. People don't realize it's easy to make an impact and a difference in small, manageable ways for both yourself and others.
Exactly. And with the Women Worth and Wellness program, I point out that net worth is enhanced because whenever you give, it's a charitable donation. So
Mm-hmm.
how big it is, depends on how significantly it impacts on your bottom line. But we also know if we're in a position to give, it enhances our self-worth.
Absolutely, absolutely. As well as, I read this book called Happy Money. I don't know if you've heard of it, and
I
it talks.
haven't, but
It's a good one, and it talks about the energy associated with money when it comes to, you know, when money is leaving us, we can choose to be happy about it, or we can choose to not be happy about it. As well as the same with money coming in, depending on the source of where it's going or where it's coming from. And so to see, this money going out from a positive standpoint, to give it that positive energy, I think has a big impact not only in what we're doing as part of that philanthropy, but also for ourselves. You
right.
get those benefits of kind of the value you attach to it because money is just transactions, right?
Correct.
It has no
Absolutely.
value outside of the piece of paper that we give it.
No. So when you talk about money coming in, if it isn't enough, then we get depressed.
Mm-hmm.
But money coming in, if it is enough and we manage it wisely, then we feel good. We always want more money.
Right.
But most people who want more money have never had the privilege of having lots of money because I
Mm-hmm.
think sometimes that reality isn't so much fun because I think you've got lots of money, then maybe people are lining up and wanting some of your money. So, it's a really, really challenging situation.
Right. As well as I think sometimes we're not even sure what that number is when we say it's not enough. I think I
Right.
remember reading somewhere, and this might be a dated number, but like $75,000 was kind of the happiness threshold. And anything above that didn't necessarily make you any happier than that
No,
dollar amount.
right, right, exactly.
And I don't know if,
Exactly.
like I said, is that still the same number, do you think, or is that
No, no,
dated?
I think it would be more than that. Who knows? It's probably 200 or 500. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? I mean, real estate values have slipped, so it's probably more. If
Mm-hmm.
real estate values were still way up there, then it would be less. So,
Right.
it varies. It really, really varies.
Now, when you talk about doing something with your money to make you money, to make more money. I know even I personally, like, that's one of those areas that I'm like, it just sounds overwhelming and confusing. And I kind of like step away
And
from. What would you say to somebody like me who's like scared of, doesn't understand investing, doesn't, is afraid to dive into some of that stuff?
okay, number one, and this has come up so many times, is you need a trusted advisor. You need a trusted advisor pertaining to your wealth
Mm-hmm.
and a trusted advisor pertaining to your health. I had a friend visiting me the other day, and she was in the process of having a 6-month update Zoom with her trusted advisor. And she said, Nancy, I would really like you to listen in on this. Now, I know this fellow, and at the beginning of this interaction between the two, she did not indicate that I was present, nor did I.
Mm-hmm.
We just both, I mean, she's obviously participating in the conversation with him, and I'm listening. And I was very, very impressed with how well he's handling her money
Mm-hmm.
and how well he's handling her and how he communicated where she's at and where she's headed. So my point is finding somebody like that to work with is really important because you need someone who's got all the credentials for being a wealth advisor. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
you've got to pass all those securities exams and have all of your designations in place. But what's more important or equally important is that they know you and that they have your
Mm-hmm.
back and that they are serving you exceptionally well so that they're making the most for you out of the money that you have invested with them. The
Right.
one thing that he said, she's 79 years old, so needless to say, she's concerned about where she's at and where she's headed, realizing that
Mm-hmm.
going forward, her expenses will probably be significant more if she
Yeah.
goes into long-term care or something like that. And so what he told her, which was most impressive, is he's got 3 years worth of money set aside to meet her monthly requirements. And so, of course, every year he'll make sure that it's a rolling 3 years. So that
Right.
gives her peace of mind that, she's being looked after. So if the markets go through the roof or they go through the basement, which they have, she was quite
Mm-hmm.
nervous when the markets went down, but markets have come back and she's got that peace of mind. So a trusted advisor, if you don't have a trusted advisor who's serving you to that extent, then you need to find one. And you find one through friends and family, um, other contacts that you may have. Who do you know that you think I should be working with? And then you interview that person deeply to make
Mm-hmm.
sure you understand their credentials, but also just say, somebody like me with this amount of wealth, with these needs going forward, how would you look after me? And if you get a good feeling, then away you go. If you don't have a good feeling, keep on interviewing.
Right. And I love that you talk about interviewing. And I find this with counselors as well. As a counselor myself, I always tell people shop around like you would a pair of shoes and try them on to see if they're comfortable. Not everybody is the right fit for everyone. Not everyone connects in the same way. So just because you walked in my door and we had a conversation, if I don't feel like the right fit, I don't think I should be their counselor. And it's probably, like you said, the same with the financial advisor. You can interview them. I know I'm not
Right.
offended when somebody picks somebody else that they feel more connected to, because that's how they're going to get help. That's how they're going to succeed and do well versus just staying with the first person you find in the list.
Yeah, because it's not working. And that's the kind of relationship that doesn't make you feel great. If
Mm-hmm.
you think about your scenario and you think about the advice you've been given and you're happy with that, then that makes you feel great. And I've always said that your number one asset is you, that you need to look after. And how you look after it is making sure that you've got somebody who's looking after you.
Mm-hmm. So, in addition to that, are there any other pieces of advice you would give to someone who's listening?
Well, there's always, I mean, when people feel that they don't have enough,
Mm-hmm.
now's the time to begin to figure out how you will get enough and what is enough.
Right.
And again, those are points of discussion when you work with that trusted advisor so that you're not doing things yourself. Same thing pertaining to your health is
Mm-hmm.
making sure that you're working with a trusted advisor or a group of people that is looking after your health. And if you've had health problems in the past, the fact of the matter is you're still alive. And so
Yeah.
you've still got a future. And there's no better time to deal with the future than now, both
Mm-hmm.
with regards to your health and your wealth. I mean, markets are crazy. They're all over the place. Who knows? And with new factors like crypto and AI and trying to do this is like literally trying to do your own dental work. You're not going to
Oh
do
my
that.
God. Yeah.
Exactly. You're not going to do it.
I never thought of it that way, but that is a great example.
And I just had an interaction with my own dentist, and I thought it was a little bit over the top. But then I thought, you know what? She was really excessively thorough, in my
Hmm.
opinion. But at the end of the day, do you want somebody that isn't thorough?
Yeah.
Because you're probably going to have other things pop up that hadn't that should have been addressed earlier on.
Right.
So after I reflected, I thought, you know what? She's doing a great job, and she's a trusted advisor when it comes to dental work.
Hmm. Yeah, I think like in general, money can be something that people avoid. And I always include money, how you think about money as part of your self-care, just because it affects so many other pieces of our lives. But so many times we're just looking at the present. But to have that future planning, to have that long-term security, is something we need to start thinking about younger and younger and younger. My kids are in their 20s, and even though I'm trying to get them to think of, when they're my age and older, looking towards retirement, you don't realize how small it can be right now. Like you said, $10, $5, $20 a month can, by the time you're older, make a huge impact, not only for your family then and for yourself, but as a philanthropist to be able to have all those assets that you're looking for.
Right. One other point that I'll mention is, and most wealth advisors may not, because it's dealing with your demise. But the best time to buy life insurance is when you're 20,
Mm-hmm.
because that life insurance then can become your philanthropic statement. You buy life insurance when you're younger because you're healthy and it doesn't cost as much. And normally, how life insurance is used to replace income. But the
Mm-hmm.
other part of insurance is critical illness insurance. Just because you're young doesn't mean that you're not going to get cancer. And
Mm-hmm.
what happens if you do get cancer? How are you going to fund your lifestyle at that point in time, or disability insurance? So that whole wealth plan includes insurance when you're young. When I had my insurance license, I wasn't licensed until I sold an insurance policy. So our daughter came home from university and I said, okay, you need a life insurance policy. And she said, why would why would I need life insurance? Well, I'll tell you exactly why. And so her dad was the beneficiary for years until she was married. And obviously there it is. And I'm assuming it's still in place. And it then can become your philanthropic statement longer term. So
Mm-hmm.
don't discount insurance. And whoever your wealth advisor is, ask them about insurance. And then satisfy yourself that you're not being sold too much or that you are being sold the right amount at the right cost.
Yeah. Just curiously, do you have thoughts on whole life versus term?
Well, this is what you have to discuss with your wealth advisor. And
Okay.
make sure that you feel comfortable knowing what the differences are and what the premiums are and how that impacts your bottom line. But a whole wealth plan definitely has a huge aspect that pertains to your health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, health is one of those things you can't put a dollar sign on,
No,
but to put a dollar sign on the things you can put a dollar sign on is absolutely key.
exactly. And of course, if something goes wrong, that's obviously the worst time to think about the insurance that you should have had.
Mm-hmm.
So a good wealth advisor will anticipate the future. What if, what if, what if? And if this were to happen, are we comfortable with what we've got in place? I said, I don't have clients anymore. I just have my women worth and wellness business. But when I did have clients, I said, I will have done a great job when those clients understand what they have and they know that they're well protected in the event that something could happen and
Mm-hmm.
that they'll walk out into the middle of traffic and say, I'm covered. I'm covered. Hit me. I don't care. Everything's in order.
but,
Everything's in perfect order.
but we hope no one's walking in traffic.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
One of the things, when we talk about self-care, like I said, money is a big part of it. I always love to talk about gratitude because I think that's an underutilized form of self-care as well. What would you say are your top 2 to 3 things you're the most grateful for?
That I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
Well, I think I mean, to your point, when you're a generous person and you give back to others, then you attract other people who are like that. And that's what I'm very, very grateful for. I'm really grateful for the people that I've met along the way that you have really positive relationships with, some that you may not have seen for a while, but some that are in your midst daily. I mean, just be that positive person and be that generous person, and you will be amazed at how grateful you will be for those relationships. Really, I think that's one of the most important things. The other thing is, another aspect that I really place high value on is humor.
Mm-hmm.
People who have a sense of humor are favorites, really. And if you haven't spent any time with a humorless person, you'll know why humor is, I mean, it just lightens the load. It
Mm-hmm.
really just lightens the load. So I'm very happy that I grew up in a family that placed value on both of those things. And I'm happy that I've brought them forward as priorities for my own well-being.
So where can people find you, Nancy? How can they work with you?
Well, they can. My email is Nancy@womenworthwellness.com, Nancy@womenworthwellness.com. And then we have all sorts of social media.
Mm-hmm.
We're on Instagram and LinkedIn, and we're
All
all
of
out
the
there. We're pushing away like there's no tomorrow. And we're
Yeah.
about to do more starting in the fall, so I'll have an even bigger presence at that point in time. But if anybody wants to get in touch with me, just tell them to send me an email,
All
Nancy
right.
at womenworthwellness.com, and ask me whatever they want to ask me, and I will be more than happy to go out of my way to do anything I can to be helpful.
Oh, that's great. And all those links will be live in the show notes below. So thank you so much, Nancy, for kind of opening the door in this conversation about being philanthropic, about our money, about thinking forward, because again, it's so vital to our self-care and how we're living every single day. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Daniela. It's a pleasure.
So much again for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know any questions or comments that you have. Also, if you can please leave an Apple 5-star review so that this episode can be shared with more women. There's 2 quotes that I love. Alone we may be strong, but together we are stronger, as well as when women support each other, incredible things happen. So let's be stronger and incredible together, as well as maybe just have some fun along the way. Thanks so much and talk to you soon. Bye.